the 30, we will. Bring the call the meeting to order at 1:30 p.m. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public comments. I don't see Brandon, you're public. I know these gentlemen have business. No comment? All right, very good. Anybody on Zoom over there? Okay, very good. Then we're on to number one on the agenda,
Need a
which is,
roll call.
I'm sorry, roll call. Thank you.
Supervisor Hill,
Here.
Treasurer Anderson,
Yes.
Trustee Appy. Here. Trustee Osling,
Here.
Cliff Squires.
Here.
Thank you. I will go on to that agenda with no public comment.
Well, oh, you gotta add an agenda item?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as soon as we go to the agenda.
Okay.
So,
Oh, you're gonna go to number one again?
Voted
yeah,
on.
well, we would start with Lincoln Financial. However, we will be adding a number three today, which is a 5-year Parks and Recreation Plan resolution that was tabled from our last meeting. I believe that Susan gave you everything that I think was asked from that last meeting. So I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addition.
So moved.
Moved by Treasurer Anderson. Support?
Support.
Support trustee Osling. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Now we're on to the number one, Lincoln Financial. We have Chris Hale and Dale Beam. Is it Beam or Bame? I've heard it pronounced so
I
many
want the
ways.
theme, though.
Bame. Yeah, there you go. Okay, and for an introduction there, Dale is represents us in our retirement package with One America right now, and also does our health benefits and those types of things that we each year meet on. And then Chris is the actual company representative of Lincoln Financial. So, gentlemen, you may have to grab another chair. I'm going to ask that you press the microphone so that it's green, so
Bless
any
you.
people can hear you, and I'll let you roll this out however you have. I know you have packets for each board member.
Yep.
So the floor is yours, gentlemen.
So basically, we've had this discussion over about the last 6 months to a year, what to do with the group's retirement plan. We've been with One America for about 6.5, 7 years now. We moved from Valak originally, which we had a lot of problems with. But One America, as they've changed their business model, they've changed their retirement plans. As of this coming year in January, One America has sold their retirement plan to Voya. Obviously, everybody knows the Voya name, but obviously the service that we've had up to this point with the transition, stuff like that, has not been awful nice. I started looking, when we started looking at group renewals and stuff like that on the regular health insurance and stuff like that, we had the discussion at that point, and we wanted to look at options that were. I've looked at probably about 14 or 15 different companies out there. My goal was to come up with a company that would be more geared towards the group versus the mass community that are out there. One of the reports that Chris has supplied us in here, has Great West's name on it, also has Empower on it. Some of the big boys that are out there, when it looks like, the big group plans, your McLaren's, your U of M's, things like that. But what we run into is with a lot of those plans is they're big cookie cutter plans. You go from township to township, go from county to county, you go from municipality to municipality. And it's, you look at the plan and it's like, you work here, it's this, you go to the next plan, it's still the same thing. Your guys' group is a little bit different. We have younger people that are on our fire and PD side, and we have some of the older people that when it comes to the, supervisors like you guys, some of the clerks, things like that, as we get a little bit older, your guys' needs are a little bit different than everybody else. When I reached out to Chris, it was to come up with a plan that we could gear towards everybody. And that was kind of the goal that we came up with Lincoln. Obviously the costs are less or expensive to the employees. Obviously, there's not really a whole lot of cost to the township currently because you guys are over $1 million a year in assets. So it really comes down to is those that are invested into the plan, which is the staff. And that concern is anywhere from 3 to 8% that you guys are losing out of your pocket based on assets internally within the fees. I'm gonna go ahead and hand out a couple of the basic ones. So this kind of tells you guys who Lincoln is, who Chris is. Obviously, they've been, in the business for many years when it comes to our retirement plans, as well as, other benefits. Well as, One America and things like that. What we run into. And goes that way. The base one kind of tells you, who Lincoln is. From there, the report that Laws is handing out, covers, the institution of what they call it qualified for investment account, which we've kind of done, with One America. Whoop, you there got one? Yeah, you got them. I'll give them to you just in case. And, from there, it's coming up with the service end, or, yeah, actually, if you want to, I think Lynn's already brought her pack. It's not only a cost factor to the township, but it's also a cost factor to the employees, and coming up with something that is well-rounded, along with the service end when it comes to administration for the gals, as well as Brian, to come up with, for the ease and the purposes of running the plan. Chris has given me some great demos that everybody, a couple of prior discussions with Brian as well as the ladies. They've given some what they call temporary usable sites that they can go on and try and test run a group plan, test run as an employee, things like that. When it comes down to the end of the day is dealing with Michelle and Lynn is we've had issues. We've had some big issues with transition with One America as we will move to Voya, which their tentative date is March of next year for the group if we do nothing. The big problem that we run into is as One America is turning this business over to Voya, is a lot of our reps and a lot of our internal people are leaving. So we don't always know who to call or how to get service.
Or even get somebody
Lynn
to
and
call you back.
Yeah, like Lynn and Michelle can tell you is we've had some huge servicing issues lately. So we could stay with Voya. The big thing that we're finding with Voya is service as well on their side. The big thing that they've told us is transition March next year. Great. We're going to have the plan. They just can't tell us at what cost. And that's where my concern has come in is, looking for a vendor that is less expensive, easier to deal with, and also gives us the training and stuff like that. Brian and Michelle, who've been here long enough, can definitely tell you that, when we first had One America, it was great. We had a sales rep came in once a year. We sat down, we went through the plan design, we went through the plans, we went through the fees, we went through, each one of the funds that were internally. And then if the fund wasn't doing well, we'd automatically swap it out. Well, then One America started to lose their reps and started to lose their internal wholesalers. And now we're kind of at the point that we really don't have anybody that's helping follow up with us. So as an agent, I can look at the funds, I can look at the Morningstar and say, okay, well, this fund isn't doing well, but I don't have all the data like the big companies like Chris would internally with the Morningstar that we use for qualifications of the plans and qualifications for the funds internally within them. So that's where bringing, Lincoln to the table is reducing the cost to the employees plus reducing the ease for the administration end. Do you have, other than what I've thrown out there, other things you'd like to mention?
Yeah, no, Dale, thank you for that. I think you did a nice job of sort of summarizing it. What we're proposing is the idea of upgrading the retirement plan experience, both for the participants that are in the plan and for the team that is administering the plan, trying to create a better result for a lower cost for the participants who are in the plan, and making Lynn and Michelle's life easier when it comes to running the plan. A little bit of just background on Lincoln. I know you have the one pager there, but we have a birthday this July. Lincoln is 120 years old, founded in the namesake of Abraham Lincoln. And I think it's important to note that we are two things that are important for Gerrish Township. Number one, we are a dedicated small plan provider. Now, my wife laughs at me every time I say that something that has 7 figures in it is small. But in terms of how retirement plans go, it's on the smaller side of things. And that's where we specialize. The majority of our plans are in that under $10 million space, which is exactly where the plan is currently. So it makes us experts in what it takes to run and make a small plan successful. What's also interesting to know, and I'm sure you're all aware of this, governmental plans, municipal plans come with their own uniquenesses. More than half of the business that Lincoln has on our books, that we have on our books, is with nonprofit and governmental retirement plans. So it's where we've cut our teeth. So when you put that together with being the expertise in small plans, it really makes it a nice fit that we have a day-to-day familiarity with plans, exactly like yours. Dale mentioned the one piece that came with another provider's name on it. What I wanted to share about that is that's a great example of trying to meet participants where they are and give some of that background supporting research. Part of the solution that we're proposing is for participants who would value and benefit from managed accounts, which is something your plan offers today, to be able to offer that as well. And those would be sponsored by Morningstar. The piece that you have is a Morningstar piece. And, if you're like me, you flip to the last page of the story to see what the conclusion is. What it shows is that for participants who choose that route, they've historically done better over time. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to create solutions to meet your employees where they are. If they're actively involved and want to pick and choose to do their own thing, terrific. Here's a mix of best-in-class investments from firms like Vanguard, Fidelity, PIMCO, American Funds, T. Rowe Price, BlackRock, very familiar household fund family names. For employees who don't want to do their own thing, they just want to set money aside and have a good retirement, then they have a managed account solution. They have a target date solution that could be available to them as well. What we want to do again is meet employees kind of where they are. Dale does a terrific job of coming out and meeting with employees regularly. But for those employees who can't meet, the schedules don't line up, don't want to meet for whatever reason, we just want to make sure they're not left behind. So we've created kind of a tiered approach so that everybody's on track for retirement and have the flexibility to move between those solutions whenever they like. So I just wanted to add a couple of things there. Thank you for the opportunity.
The big thing that we find at the end of the day is like Chris is mentioning is the ease and comfort for our staff. Lincoln brings to the table a lot of options that we didn't have before. They're going to have 24-hour call service. They're going to have a service that, if I can't reach out to them, our internal people at Lincoln would be able to do that as well. Obviously, with the split shifts that the EMS and the fire both work, there's times that these guys are on 24s that, they've got 15, 20 minutes in between calls. They could call customer service and talk to someone. They can have directions that if I can't meet up with them, they can have those directions. There's going to be a lot of options internally that can be done, through their portal or through us as training that typically we did not have or currently have. So that gives us that option. It's helping enhance the process as well as the process that they're doing. Currently, what happens is Michelle or Lynn do the initial enrollment when we have a hire. Where what will happen is they'll have an upload with an employee when they're hired based on the hours that they work and the classification they'll be put into. So it would then automatically enroll them into the retirement plan where now she's adding them to the payroll system and then we're having to add them to the retirement system where she's going to do a single report. It's then going to upload into the system and it'll tell her when somebody's eligible if they want to contribute. So, it's going to help speed up the process. It's going to be a lot less on their end as well as our end for the administration. Obviously, we still want to sit down, whether it be a new group or an existing group, when we have a hire person is we want to sit down with them and build in the user ID, the password, the beneficiary, things like that. So their account's current. I'll be honest with you, 75% of our employees, once they've logged in that first time, have lost the password, have lost the user ID, never log in again. I get the call. It's just common. It is. And that's where like what Chris is mentioning, that QDIA account is it's common. It's not high risk. It's not low risk. It's that good even flow. You know, money's going in. You know, if the market's going up, I'm gonna make a little bit. If the market goes down, yeah, I might lose something. It's the nature of the beast, but it's not that high aggressive. Whereas we get some of the younger people that, you know, they're going to throw everything into the market and they're going to roll the dice and they've got 30, 40 more years to work. Some of us don't. So, I mean, you know, that system will give us that ability where we can, you know, help gear things towards you individually as well as the group. And same thing with the fund selections, you know, with the portfolios and stuff. If one fund is not doing well, those portfolio managers will notify us and instantly swap that fund out and bring in a new fund that meets their guidelines as well as their profitability and their, you know, customer service end as well. And that's the one nice thing is, you know, like Chris said, is I mean, there's thousands of funds that are out there. Obviously, the fund lineup that is in there in the I-360 report are common funds that are similar to what we currently have. If you said, hey, I like ABC fund, great, let's take a look at it. Let's see what the profitability is. Let's look at the 1 year, the 3 year, the 5 year, the 10-year performances and see if it is something that's truly a good fund or is it something that's just currently doing well. So that way it could be something that we could offer to the group. It's really coming up with each person's different. Your goals are different. You know, obviously, you know, a lot of our full timers, you know, do still work part-time elsewhere. They have funds elsewhere. And we always have the discussion is contributions. You know, you have a maximum that you can put away. Well, if you're putting away in 2 different plans, we want to make sure that we're not overfunding something and then IRS catches up and says, hey, there's a bunch of money you got to take back and now you got to pay taxes and penalties. You know, it's helping out with that system. And that's where, you know, their Excel spreadsheet that, you know, the gals can upload to Lincoln and vice versa, that will help us on that basis.
Maybe I could just add 1 or 2 more things, Dale.
Sure, go ahead.
So from a servicing perspective, and I think this is an important differentiator in today's day and age. Number one, from an administrative side, Michelle and Lynn, you will have a dedicated account manager whose name, email address, and telephone number you'll have. And that person sits in Fort Wayne, Indiana. From a participant servicing perspective, all of our participant facing service folks are in Indiana. So I think it's nice when somebody from Michigan picks up the phone and calls and talks to somebody who sounds like them. So there is zero offshoring from that perspective. You know, I think some of the technological advances that Dale mentioned are worth noting. We are still a people first company, but we find that people can be more effective if they have cool technology supporting them. So participants will have access to, you know, the full suite of tools on the website. Truth be told, most participants come to the website looking to see, what do I have? Did that deposit hit? And how am I doing? But if they choose to engage further beyond that, there are a whole host of financial wellness tools, everything ranging from, I have questions about HSAs or college funding or student loans. How do I navigate and work through those? And we can meet those participants with either written education, video education. They have the ability to talk live to a retirement consultant to help walk them through that if Dale's not available. One of the things that I love, that I use regularly is we have a financial aggregation tool available on the website where a participant can put together their entire financial life in one place. So it updates on a daily basis. What's my credit card balance? What's my checking account balance? What's my savings account balance? How much do I have in my kids' 529? When we all met together last time, I told the story of the AAA trip ticker. And I may be dating myself by saying that, but has everybody ever tried one of those or had one of those? I am dating myself. Thank you, I think, Jim. It was this great thing, if you're not familiar with it, where you'd go to AAA and they would literally print you out a map that went page to page for your journey, and they would highlight your entire route. Well, one of the most important pieces of that was your starting point. So I love the fact that we can help participants get really clear on where they're starting and then help them as they move along their journey in terms of checking off those financial boxes.
Questions?
I'm looking at the mapping strategy and pricing sheet on Y Lincoln, it says Y Lincoln retirement plans. So, and that's on page 4. So this is, I'm guessing this is the plan that Gerrish Township has, you're using for comparison?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so they've got total plan assets somewhere around 2.9 million, is that
That's
right? And the cost you're saying prospectively you think is gonna be about 0.6 total of that total assets? Or administering or running the whole plan?
Yeah, so the combination of record keeping and administration, and then Dale's investment advisory fee is 0.62% or 62 basis points.
Okay, so I'm only asking because when I looked at the page 3 on the comparison, I'm seeing an expense ratio of 0.91, and I don't know if that's the same ratio or if I'm looking at two.
Well, there's going to be additional costs when we look at the One America, because obviously, they're not only hitting us with, their internal cost fees are higher. So I mean, there's those two different obligations of on that page 4 is going to be truly asset costs
Okay,
reduction versus what One America currently is.
but you're projecting, okay, then on the page 3 one with the plan expense comparison, you're still saying that total cost is still gonna be under 1 point.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah,
Total assets.
Yeah, total cost is going to be under 1, and where the sort of the difference, I think what you're asking about is how do we get from the 0.62 to the.
Well, I was just,
0.1?
I'm looking at the two and I'm just trying to
Sure. No, no,
make
no.
sure I'm looking at apples for apples or apples and orange.
Yep. No, it's a great question. And on page 3 of the comparison, we tried to create as apples to apples as we could. And where you see that difference on top of the 0.62 is the weighted investment expense.
Yeah, their basis for calculating their fees is different. It looks like.
A little bit.
That's, and you're trying to come up with and I get that part. I was just trying to figure out if those two, so the expectation would be, what of One America is over 1%. But coming this next year, it could be different. You don't know what that's gonna be.
So they told us for the first year, if we move in March and do nothing, we're guaranteed through the end of 2026 to be at the cost that we're at. Guaranteed. I just don't know after that, and nobody can tell me that. One America / Voya has actually moved little over 3,000 plans already to Voya,
Yeah,
but nobody can tell me because they moved all the big plans first. And the smaller plans, they're waiting until next year to move. So costs there are a whole lot different than what we talk about costs here. And that's what they can't tell me. They can't tell me, hey, what's going to happen in the future? Well, I have locked in numbers if we stay with One America, but they can't tell me transition from One America to Voya after the end of next year, where we're going to be at. They could jack our prices and be double what they are. They could reduce them. My thought was finding somebody that we know we can trust and do a transition now before we possibly have headaches 6 months down the road.
uh, I look at this from multiple factors, which you kind of covered. The administrative issues of maintaining the plan for at this level at the township, and I've not firsthand been part of that because I'm on the other side of the hall, but I know that they've been frustrated with getting answers or getting things done. And you're basically stating that Lincoln wouldn't have that issue, or at least, I mean, you're always going to have issues. So that's one. The other is cost is obviously an issue. And then the third is having the investment avenues for different people's different needs, which you kind of covered that as well. So, from my perspective, I'm pretty satisfied with what you're saying. The truth's always in the pudding, and when you when you get done after.
Well, the big thing that I can vouch for, and Michelle will do the same thing, and she'll vouch for this. When she first went into the position, we had a great person. We had a great person at One America. You'd call them up,
Mhm.
you'd have an answer 24 hours, no problem. And then things changed. Probably about a year ago, year and a half
Mhm.
ago. And the problem is as Voya is taking this over, some people are moving Voya, some people aren't. Some people are leaving, some people are staying, some people, and I had a group this morning that I called on, and my rep that was supposed to be there at least through the end of this year is gone. So now who do I talk to? Well, you get a random person that doesn't know your group plan nor your group members. And basically it's leave a message. We'll get back with you, send an email. I mean, we waited on the one issue, we waited 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your assets. I mean, we know the market goes up and down. And if we can't, I mean, typically with an asset, you want to do a trade, done, close a business today, other than on Juneteenth.
Well,
Your funds are going to trade. Well, if I can't get an answer for 2.5 weeks, we could have a downturn and you could lose a bunch of money. And that's as a fiduciary and as well as, them running into 316 and, running the plan and stuff like that. They don't want the lawsuit.
your role in this personally is the go between us and Lincoln.
That's correct.
You represent,
I'm an independent agent.
yeah.
So, I mean, we represent multiple different companies when it comes to the health insurance, the life insurance, the retirement planning, everything like that.
Well, what happens? You get hit by a bus tomorrow. We have a direct.
I'll be that guy that's honest. And most of the people here know I had a stroke summer last year. I was laid up 9.5 days. I was out of work probably about 6 weeks. My wife, Chris, people that, I trust. And that's the big thing is when I started having this discussion with some of the other companies that were out there, I talked to Empower, I talked to Great West, I talked to, a couple of the other companies that are out there. And it was always, hey, who's my rep in Michigan? Well, you don't have one.
And it's a good point. And I just, because, all of us, well, maybe not everybody here, but I've dealt with a broker. I started with that broker when I was 20 some years old. He retired here not too long ago ahead of me and, panic. And, but the company themselves are a good, solid company. I got a new broker and I'm doing fine. Nothing changed in my portfolio. And I think that's the key here is that the employees here, you got $2.9 million, but that's everybody's money. It's in here. You get a statement of your share of that. And then your planning for you is going to be different to Jim and be different to me. And it's important that the tools that you have can be utilized to make the best plan for each individual. Like, because I think most of this money was derived as the replacement for Social Security, right? Because and that's under a special act that this township has.
Yes.
The board.
For us, that's right, that's right, that's right. Right. Right.
Yeah, and Jim, I'd like to build on what you were sharing just a moment ago. As Dale and I have gotten to know each other, and I've been in this business for about 30 years now. The gray hairs are not just because I have teenage daughters. I've been doing this for a few minutes. I've rarely seen advisors that connect with participants in the way that Dale does. As an example, when we were here last, we were standing in the parking lot talking, and a patrol car pulled up, and the window rolled down, and having a conversation about something going on specific to the health and welfare benefits. So that kind of relationship is unique and special. And I would hope that every employee takes advantage of it. But if for whatever reason the employees don't, then we want to have redundancies in place where they can talk to one of our retirement consultants, where they can go online and take care of it themselves. But we want to make sure whoever they talk to, that they have everything they need to retire successfully. The other point that I wanted to touch on, and you mentioned it, and it's important. the cost here is black and white. But what we can't really quantify here is the amount of additional time that Michelle and Lynn take running the plan that they shouldn't have to. And there's actually a cost to that when it takes multiple follow-up
The
phone calls.
efficiency factor.
An efficiency factor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we were to add that in here, it would be hopefully a positive on the Lincoln side and, an additional cost, on the one American side.
Well, the fourth thing that I was going to point out too is just the different, apparently you have quite a range of investment opportunities in there. They pick different portfolios to pick from.
That's correct.
I mean, we have a plan that's the umbrella, but having the ability to pick from different types of investments or companies is a big plus. It's not like you're just selling, we have an annuity, you get to buy it. It's with this company. Or you go over here, you
So
pick.
like Chris said, so obviously, a lot of the groups that we use and a lot of the companies that we use Morningstar. Obviously, when we look at like Pac-Life has their own personal funds. When you look at that lineup, there's only one fund in that lineup that has Lincoln's name on it, and that's the stable value account. All the other funds are owned by somebody else. So I mean, when you look at it as, hey, I'm pushing Lincoln to push Lincoln, no, there's only one fund in there that's Lincoln. I'm looking at the service aspect and I'm looking at the end user aspect. And that's where Lincoln comes in. One America had, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 funds in their plan, their stable value plan, a mid cap fund, things like that. Is, the internal costs and stuff like that. And a lot of the funds that are in there are not Lincoln's funds. Morningstar narrows it down to 400 typically. And then we funnel that down to the aspects of each one of the groups. Your 20 or 25 funds may be different than a township just down the road based on age, based on
It should
things
be.
like that. And it should be. And that's where, target date funds are target date funds. Some of the portfolios are very similar. The one nice thing is with the portfolios that I found with a lot of companies is, hey, you have this portfolio. There's 8 or 10 funds in there. Well, the market's doing well. Well, you always get those emails or the paperwork in the mail that, hey, there was a trade. Well, I didn't call anybody. Yes, they're moving the money around because you're paying for that service and these funds are doing better. Well, if the market starts to go down, they may pull back into 3 or 4 of the other funds. That's where you're paying for that service. That's where those built models fall in. Yes, I mean, there's going to be probably 10 or 15 other funds that if somebody wants to pick specific funds, I can sit with them. We can go through that. But I'm going to tell you, 75 to 80% of your staff, they're in portfolios. They want to know that somebody's helping them, whether it be me or somebody on the other end. And like you said, what happens if something happens to me? They've got Chris, we've got an internal person, we've got Michelle. There's a lot of training and stuff like that, just like he talked about, is you look at the couple different generations that are out there and a lot of the kids that are coming up. I mean, it's all technology. They want something that they can click on, look at, do that. I'm that guy that I spend a lot of time traveling. I like listening to the webinars and stuff like that, which I can click on my phone and play through my Bluetooth. Some people still like the paperwork. Guess what? I'll give you paperwork if you want paperwork. I mean, obviously the presentations that I'm handing out, there's a purpose behind it, but a lot of the stuff, I mean, as 2 gals and Brian can vouch for, a lot of the stuff got emailed to them as well. Some people, hey, looking at that, PDF online is great. Other people like that physical paperwork in front of them. Each person's going to be different. They really are.
So, yeah, did you, I think you were just touching on it, but, is there a portfolio manager? Is there a portfolio manager that, that we can point to that's taken, you actually mentioned a few minutes ago, you're going to take a look at a group of assets now, and then as that changes or time changes, you're going to switch that around a little bit to take advantage of.
Yes,
what
they
the
actually have
market
somebody
is.
internally that does that. Is it important? I'm turning to her.
Does that do just for, well, then we just last the second part of it and then talk to both, but what about the risk tolerance for people that come in? Some people are going to have, younger people are going to have one set of risk tolerance. I would certainly have something different than somebody started. And how are the portfolios then affected by that risk tolerance?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I think there are 2 different things that we want to take a look at. I think we want to take a look at the funds that go into the overall lineup. and then the funds that go into the individual portfolios. So just at a high level, the funds that go into the overall lineup, there are, I don't know, 13,000 mutual funds that are out there now. This is what we call an open architecture platform. So theoretically, you have access to any mutual fund that's out there. The reality is they're not all as good as one another. So we leverage Morningstar as the investment fiduciary partner to scale that down to a curated list of between 300 and 400 funds. That's where the 400 funds that Dale mentioned a minute ago was. From there, we'll sit down and come up with the list that makes the most sense for the township. And as Dale mentioned, the list for your company or for your plan might be different than the list for another client that we're working with, or than another client that we're working with. But you have that backing of Morningstar doing the screening. And I love the second set of eyes, third set of eyes that Dale and I are going to put on it to personalize it. So that's where we get the funds that are in the overall lineup. Now, how do we personalize it for each of your employees? Well, we take a look at a number of data points, 6 data points, as a matter of fact, unless the participant engages and wants to tell us more. But we take a look at their age, their anticipated retirement date, what they have saved, what they make, what they are saving. We assume a moderate risk tolerance unless they tell us otherwise. But when we take a look at that age and that proximity to a retirement factor, that tells us whether they're able to stomach a little bit more risk or not. Somebody who's inside of 10 years, we're going to dial that risk back, and we're going to do that proactively. Somebody who's got more than 10 years has the opportunity to stomach a little bit more risk. Those portfolios, the investments get reviewed every quarter. The portfolios get reviewed and adjusted every year. So, and what you'll find if you in the piece that talks about the managed accounts, if you skip to the end, what you find is there's a difference between employees who are what we call engaged and employees who are unengaged. Unfortunately, most employees are unengaged. They get defaulted into it and they just kind of go along and they don't ever go on and put more information in. But for the employees who choose to be engaged and tell us about, oh, my spouse has this much in a retirement plan and I have this much, oh, I have a pension coming in from a prior career. I retired from the military. I'll have a pension coming in. When they can help us build out a more rounded picture of them, we can customize their portfolio even more. And we find that those participants do substantially better than those who don't give us those additional data points. But in either case, employees who are unengaged do between 50 and 100 basis points, so between 0.5% and 1% better than those who choose a single fund, like a balanced fund or a target date fund. Those who do engage do between 1.5% and about 2% better. So it's a really nice option for your employees.
So the managed funds, how often are they reevaluated?
At least annually.
At least annually.
Yep. But what was interesting in talking with them about it, so when there was all of the tariff conversation and the market sold off, they actually used that as a repositioning opportunity. Because all of a sudden, everybody's allocation was flipped on its head.
Yeah.
So they used it as an opportunity. I mean, what do you want to try to do when it comes to investments? You want to try to buy low, sell high. So,
That's kind of what I was getting at, is if there's somebody that's actually watching that and making those decisions.
Well, if you bought your fund, you picked that fund, you're stuck. If you got a managed fund portfolio, they're going to make
that's right.
based on your instructions you get.
Yeah, and they're not going to be, I want to be make sure I'm really clear and I'm setting expectations properly. They're not going to be trading, every day, every week, probably even every month. But if there is a significant event where they have an opportunity to enhance the returns, then they're going to do that.
Yeah.
If I can bring this kind of back to the employee, this level, if you will, because I know there's employees in the audience. Obviously, when I bet this would be the fourth actual change to that I've been through in my time here at the township throughout it. And I just want to make sure that what you're proposing still is a combination of a 401A and a 457, not a 401K. Okay, so it's still the same thing that we've had with One America.
That's correct.
For those that wants the managed accounts, are we talking individually managed accounts? We had a thing called Artesis.
Yes. So
And
we
a
would-
person could pay, obviously, for a little bit more of that oversight. And Jim, to your point, if I'm 5 years from retirement, I want to get back to some low risk pieces, if you will, there. Obviously, we've got people we can work with to accomplish that. You meet with the employees. Employees say, yes, I want high risk, I want moderate, I want.
Yes. So
At this point in my life, do you agree with me, Dale or Chris, whoever it will be, that still would exist?
Yes. So Stadion would be the company or the name on.
Say it again.
Morningstar. Well, Stadion is the portfolios. And then Morningstar funnels the funds into that. Yes. Stadion, Stadion.
Okay, Stadion.
Yeah.
Okay, it would be what they would have known as the
Yes.
Artesis. Okay. And so in that avenue, it is managed all the way. It could be managed if they would like it all the way down to them individually.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then those that don't want to be managed, they're still non-managed. They can pick that option
Yes.
to do that. If I was looking over your documents here, One America looks like you guys have listed 16 different accounts that obviously
Yeah, there's 16 different funds.
funds,
You know,
yes.
obviously we look at a typical plan, anywhere from 15 to 20. I've seen, a couple of my plans have up to 25, depending on, age differences and stuff like that. Obviously, the target date funds are going to be based on age within the group, depending on, how old or how new that target date fund would be. Those are easy to do. Obviously, the managed accounts, they're going to choose X amount of funds that are in each one of those managed accounts. And then we throw in, obviously that we're talking about the qualified deferred investment account, QDIA. Typically we look at either a target or a Stadium fund or like the EUA or the stable value account. So that way, when somebody's first enrolled, I might not be able to get down here right away, or they may not want to log in right away. Their money's going to start right away. They're eligible, first of the month, following 90 days, boom.
Okay.
Money's going to start going in, and then I'm going to come down and meet with them at some point. That way we can sit down, we can get their user ID, their password, things like that. If they're happy where they're at, great, we'll leave. If they want to move things around, I get calls from my staff internally, or from your guys' staff, and that's what I'm there for. I get those calls all the time. That's what we're there for. If you don't want to talk to somebody on the other end, yes, you're going to talk to somebody at Indiana, which is great, because I can tell you, I've talked to enough meetings lately that it's frustrating. Even on our BCN side, it's just frustrating. And that's where coming up with somebody that can give us the local support. Chris is local. He's up here every 2 to 3 weeks. Even if it's one of those things that, hey, I'm on vacation, but you guys got, midnight staff or something like that. Hey, Chris and I will work something out. We'll throw a meeting and we'll get the people together. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I can attest. I'm a pain in the butt to Dale, especially after hours. But he does respond quite well, and I do appreciate that. So really essential in the optics form for the employee, there is no one gotcha change in this. It's a matter of more the internal mechanisms to satisfy customer service so that we're able to not be cramped up for a few weeks or also waiting for. Boy, yeah, I've been through one of those huge ones. I won't name the company, but it just was atrocious. The larger the company, the worse it was trying to get things unlocked and moved and things like that. So, my other question has to do with, I know that we currently have a retirement plan document.
Yes.
And I know when we briefly talked, we need some adjustment to that retirement plan document. Is that something we should be doing now, right?
So if we were
in conjunction, if this board decides it wants to move forward with
Yes.
Lincoln.
If we were to move forward, the process is basically, it's an easy process to start. There's a form that's sent over to me. We fill it out with name, address, your guys' tax ID number, contact people, things like that. That is then signed off on by someone at the township, one of you three. That's then sent over to Lincoln. They start doing the bill. I send them over all the current documentation of the group, assets, plan documents, everything like that. Once that's reviewed, they're going to come back with some suggestions. Obviously, one of the suggestions we talked about is getting rid of that 70.5 rule. You guys have a distribution on 70.5 on your guys' contributed money, which somehow we missed it when we originally moved the plan. That would be one of the things that I'd suggest changing. Obviously, I don't have any other plans out there, typically 59.5 or 55 on the municipality side. I mean, typically it's your money, you should be able to have access to it either through loan or distributions. We don't have that currently. So, I mean, that would be one of the things I would change.
You
But
say
there-
70.5, you mean to take? I mean, that's the threshold
So-
for
so-
early distribution,
So
for
R&D.
mandatory distribution.
R&D, I think, right?
typically RMD is 70.5, 73 now is the
70.
true age. Unfortunately, when the plan got moved over from VALIC to One America, we missed the 70.5 rule. Is you guys have two different funds. You guys have employer contribution, you have employee contribution. You can actually take after age 55, you can take an in-service distribution at age 55 on the employer portion, but your portion that you're putting in, if you're still employed, you still can't take until 70.5 unless you quit. How that got missed, I don't know because.
I ran into that.
What about retirement?
If you retire, it's different. You've left employment, you have the right to move your money at any point, but
It's the weirdest thing. I
So-
went through it. I'll
Yeah.
tell you exactly what it is. The 401A is what the township puts in. And at 55, I could move that, still be employed at the township. However, my tax deferred money that I put in out of my own in the 457, I had to quit in order to retire, if you will, to be able to get to my 59.5, the amount of money I put in.
So this is just.
It's like
all this
package.
A plan rule. It's not anything to do with IRS regs. It's just a plan rule.
that's correct.
Plan rule.
Which can be rectified.
That's
This can,
That's
you
what
know,
I was
follow
asking.
up
When
with-
do we do that? Because we talked about that 70.5 piece.
Well, that's the one nice thing is, obviously we're gonna send over, if we were to move forward, if the board approved it, we would send over all the current plan documentation. Basically, one of the things we've all discussed already is that 70.5. They're also gonna have their legal look at it and go, okay, hey, to upgrade everything to the current IRS standards, we need to do this, this, and this. And then they're gonna come back with the actual document and stuff like that, and then that's gonna get signed electronically. Once all that's signed, the plan then continues to go forward. One of the things that we had suggested for the gals to do is as we're waiting for that transition, is as we get closer to the transition date of that money coming over, is like a week or two before that does happen, is have them run a test run or do that first contribution. We'd rather have a small amount of money going into the plan. If there's any errors or any, connections between computers, things like that. That way we fix those little plans before that big lump sum comes over. So that way we don't have issues going forward. I mean, I have a group right now that somehow I got a guy that got enrolled twice. He's got 2 accounts. Should have never happened. It's taken me forever to get it fixed. That is where with this transition, we're gonna go through and scrub the entire plan, scrub the entire documents, everything like that, fix what you guys may want to change, as well as get everything up to date underneath current IRS guidelines and stuff like that as well.
Just, a little additional detail, Brian, to your question. So it's called a plan design review call, and it's going to be one of the first calls that the team will have. And I think we've covered a lot of what that does. What I also really like about it is, and you know this far better than I do, Gerrish Township is kind of a living, breathing entity that changes over time, and the needs of your employee base changes over time. The needs of the community changes over time, and so should your retirement plan. So this is an opportunity to say, the plan has served us well in the past, but let's now create it in such a way that it is forward-looking.
Okay. Mary Jo, do you have any questions? Okay, Michelle?
What kind of a transition time frame are we speaking of? when
3-4 years at least.
You're being kind. Wow. All right.
Are we talking like it would be 2 months from the onset of when it begins to
Typically 3 months on the long side.
3? Okay,
I've seen it,
okay.
we're talking to a couple other plans as well that have similar issues that you guys do. We've seen it happen quicker. It's gonna all depend. The base stuff that you guys are doing, plus the base setup and stuff. I've seen it happen in 6 to 8 weeks. It's then upon the other side to give us the
Right.
money. So as long as they play fair,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah,
8 to 10 weeks, 12
Okay.
weeks.
Yeah, I agree exactly. Three months on the outside.
Okay.
And that wild card there is how quickly One America
Right.
can transfer the money.
right.
We'll have everything up and running and ready to receive money within that 2-month timeframe that you
Okay.
mentioned.
Okay.
And then that variable will be, what does the blackout window look like? And when can we get One America to transition the assets?
I got one more.
Yeah.
I'm here for 3 more years and I have a different retirement plan or different investment plan, if you will. Is this easy to transfer when I leave here? Or do I have to,
Okay.
you just
Yeah.
paperwork and
Paperwork or go online.
okay.
The big thing, like we tell everybody, is myself personally, we can sit down and talk. Second opinion is always free. I mean, yes, I get paid internally, through the fees that you guys purchase, things like that. But second opinions are free. I mean, we do a lot of benefits here for the township. We do a lot for other counties, other municipalities. And, I have here as well as other places, I have individual clients as well as a group clients. And second opinions are free. Sometimes, hey, you got a guy over there with Jones, or you got a guy, at Wells Fargo or something like that you've dealt with for years. Great. Just let me give you a second opinion. They're free. Sometimes I may have something different than a captive agent does because I am an independent agent. So it gives you the ability that you can look at other things than what you currently been possibly doing before.
So board, we have to decide what next step forwards are.
Well, you didn't ask me if I had any more questions.
You've been having your words, but go ahead. You want more? Go right ahead. I'm going to ask the chiefs out there too.
Well, this is my suggestion. It just, and much like Jim, I've only got a short tenure here, and whatever decision I make or my vote is going to be based on what I think is best for the employees that are here and they're going to be here, not me, because I'm not long-term. I think that, we've got some information here and I like what I'm hearing. If we were to take the time over the next couple of weeks, talk to some more of the employees to just make sure that there's nothing that we're not understanding, that we could then put that on the agenda for July and make a decision that's not too late or too soon.
Absolutely, to you guys. I mean, we can do this.
Are we on a time crunch of any kind? I mean,
So the retirement plan, unlike health and welfare benefits, don't have a set transition
Okay.
time. They don't have a set open enrollment time. What I would share with you, and I think July still gives us plenty of time, is that the busiest time of year for plans transitioning is in that September to the end of the year timeframe. So in order to give you the most flexibility and get you in queue earlier, I wouldn't push the decision too long.
Right.
Again, just because that's everybody's busiest time of the year, and I'd rather have you not be in the middle of that.
I agree with you. If it was me sitting by myself and you were across the desk from me, I'd probably ask you where to sign. But being that we're a board and we have the due diligence, and I had never am real comfortable about making a decision on behalf of somebody else that quickly. And July puts us only a few weeks out. But I'm only one vote, so it's
I
up to
agree.
you.
I agree.
Question, we have one session.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're up.
I'll go back. We have a July 10th and it's a work session in a 16th type of thing. Does the board want to look at it on July? I don't see the need to see it again at a work session.
No, absolutely not.
I don't, and we can
Maybe
certainly
speak
do our
to
due
it.
diligence, and I want to give the chief such a quick chance for questions too, but an agenda item on the 16th or the 10th,
Would that even make a difference? A week?
6 days? No?
We go
Okay.
to the board meeting then,
All
at
right.
the work session.
So we usually do action items on our 16th, our regular meeting. So it would be July 16th for a potential agenda unless we run into hiccups, if you will, along the way. Is that fair enough, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. And then given that 60 to 90 days, I guess you guys can do what we need to do.
Yes.
We still beat that 26 potential changeover that we know is coming, right? Yes. Okay. All right. Very good. Chief, individual question. Can you come to a microphone or something?
Comparable to what we have in America. The only questions I have is with the Scannon versus the Artesia that we have. Is that comparable also as far as cost?
Very similar. The internal fees on the managed funds are,
Slightly less,
yeah,
45 basis point.
Scannon's less?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I think 0.45 versus 0.50.
Okay.
so not tons of less, but it's still managed.
Okay.
So it is less than Artesis?
Yeah.
By a tenth,
Yes.
you said, okay.
And then just the other question, because I was here when Ballot was here, and we would switch from Ballot to One America. Are you anticipating any problems with One America releasing those funds?
No, we're not gonna have the nightmare that we did with that.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the way ballot was originally set up, they were set up funky. I mean, it's not gonna be all individual, hey, you got like we did before.
Yeah.
Sign this form, sign this form, sign this form. Is when we get to the point we do that blackout, anybody who has funds in there, it's getting moved.
Right, one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to get into the details of it a smidge more. When the assets would have come over from Valak, they would have been the individual annuities and individual transfers. This will come over as a group.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you.
Brandon?
I guess, just wondering if there's any fees to the employee that come out of what we already have
No,
charged to us.
no. So basically what's gonna happen is, I mean, you're actually gonna get more money in your guys' account. I mean, this is a lateral transfer. I mean, we're going 401A, 457 to 401A, 457. You know, if everybody said, hey, you know what, let's do a test drive and we'll stick with Voya till next year. Okay, we can do that. I'm trying to get ahead of the point because I don't know how bad it's gonna go. And that's where, us looking, now or, and we've been looking for the last 6 months to a year since we found out about this, actual cost to you guys now, we're actually going to save money, put more money back into that, by doing this.
That was probably more of a board question, just wondering if the board decided to do this in July, move forward with it, would it take effect at 90 days afterwards, or would we wait till the fiscal year of April for it to change that?
I think we would want to get it done before fall.
You're not really changing. I mean, you're tweaking the plan, but you're not
No,
changing your retirement. You're just changing
They're logged
the
into the
platform that it's working under, but you're not changing. So I don't know of any reason why you have to wait till April 1st to
right.
do so. There's no legal reason I know of.
Sounds like you're gonna meet with each individual employee.
If the employee wants to. Otherwise, they're automatically gonna get moved, they're automatically gonna get put into the qualified deferred account, whatever that may be. And that's where they'll sit until either they sit with me or they personally log in themselves. I mean, a lot of the regular staff, I've got 25-30% here that want somebody to sit with. And that's what Chris and I will be there for. We'll hold some meetings, open meetings, things like that. We'll get you user IDs, we'll get you passwords, we'll build in beneficiaries. we'll decide what's right for you. Is the qualified account right, or is being, in one of the stadium plans the right thing to do?
Staff meeting kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, I would want to meet individually. I can't get insurance for the rest of it.
Yeah.
But I just definitely bring it.
Yeah, and like you guys know, I'm gonna make it work for you guys. I mean, I've got a couple things this summer that I'm gonna do just like everybody else, but I mean, we're gonna work times and dates and stuff like that. I mean, I realize you guys both have people that work midnight. You guys got people that work so many shifts that might work 224s and then might not be here for a week.
Yeah,
If I got to that individually, I mean, we'll make it work. I mean, it's,
Set a date aside or something.
Yeah.
And that they were, everybody had a certain time, that meet for now or whatever.
Okay, very good. Anybody else? Gentlemen, thank you. Dale, we'll be in
Thank you.
touch.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you making the trip up there for the
My
full
pleasure.
board. And Dale, I will be in touch.
yep, definitely.
And the sixth, it looks like we'll take the issue up on the 16th of July.
Okay.
Okay.
Do I press?
If for some reason something changes, I'll let you know, but, okay, thank you. Perfect. All right,
you.
very good. We're on to number 2 on the agenda, which is it's actually an invitation to bid for a request for proposal for the municipal PD fire EMS seal coating. I did the documents, but I need the board to tell me to help fill the dates in with me. We are in the year that we normally do it. We do it every 3 years and get the restriping, crack seal, all the rest of that, the approaches, the aprons, the whatever over here for the whole complex. And so we'll have to put an invitation to bid, obviously, in the paper, which I have there. So when would you like us to move this project forward? And so what's the date? No later than, we have a July 10th meeting for a work session. This is now what, the 17th?
Can we do it now?
Can we do what now?
Can we make it happen now?
All right. It's up to
Is it
you.
gonna be paper for just 1 week?
I know it has to be in the
For
paper.
bids, it's whatever we choose.
Okay.
If it's 30 days or whatever, it's.
No, but
whatever
I
we
think
choose.
he's asking, is it gotta go 2 consecutive weeks in the paper? Or
I
is it
don't think
just
so.
one?
I think it's one.
My personal feeling is make the bids due on July 10th, or actually July 9th.
Ooh,
July
it's not very
9th.
long.
Pardon?
It's not very long.
It's from the 17th until now.
If,
Is that,
Three
do you want to wait and go further? You're going
So
to be
it's
into September.
Paper until next week.
right. But you know what? I assume you're sending these out to some specific companies, right?
We've had a couple of companies in the past that have bid. We can send it to them. That's not an issue, but
Well, you were asking for names of company. I didn't know if you were gonna send them, but
well, I've got a couple of them that have, one stopped in several months ago. I had the flyer for that, and then that they stopped in inquiring. And then there was there's another one that I know has done it before.
well, I guess all I can say is if you either do a special meeting in July or you stick with what we got and make the decision by July 16th and get the work done maybe in August or September, because if you wait till August, you're not going to get it in
You're not gonna
August.
get it,
You're going
no.
to get it
I'm
maybe in
concerned with
September.
Us waiting as
October.
we have now, that these places, everybody's so darn busy.
So what if
Just
we,
get it together.
what
It's
if,
not like they gotta do the work, and the longer you give them to get it done, they wait till the last.
They wait till the last
You know, and Brian gave them a very good,
Yes.
detailed, pictures.
So what do you
they
think, the
could call-
10th?
I think the 10th or the.
9th at 4 PM?
So we can look
Let's
at
do
them
the
at
work
the 10th?
session, we'll look at
Or
it.
do you want to just do them the night of the 16th or 15th? We do it the 15th at 4 PM for them due in. We'll review them on the 16th and open them on the 16th and award? Or no?
Well,
Or do it on the 10th,
it's not like it's pretty, your specs on there are pretty firm.
Mhm.
It should be apples and apples on
Should
their
be.
bids. It
Should
should be
be.
getting, shouldn't have to go through the bid to determine that the,
It's there or not.
because you told them
Yep.
what's the materials have got to be. The only thing they could mess up on is if they measured it wrong, but that's on them.
Tell them, not me. I'll show it to
You
anybody.
know what I mean?
Okay, so where are you going, Jim?
Well, if he wants to give them that extra week
I know.
and let them put the bid in by the July 15th, that would give you an extended period to get the bids. Or you get them the day before the July 10th meeting, we could have a time to discuss it and get back ask questions if we need to, and then make the decision in July.
So probably the
60.
9th then.
I'm comfortable with the 9th.
Which means you got to get that to the paper like yesterday.
Well, it's not gonna get any faster. It'll be still next week.
Just, yeah, as long as we
I'm speaking metaphorically. You just need to get there quicker. That's
Yeah.
I thought July 8th was our board meeting.
no.
No?
July 10th and the 16th, we changed them at the last meeting because of the 4th of July.
You did it at the board meeting.
Yes, we did.
Okay, what I missed. Okay, July, tell me it again, I'm sorry. Work session. is
July
not on
10th.
the 8th?
July 10th, work session, 9 in the morning, July 16th, 7 o'clock at night for the regular board meeting. It is on the website. It is in the calendar. It's. All right, so I'm going to insert in here that the seal coat bids are due in by July 9th, 2025, 4 p.m. And then go down here, Gerrish Township Board intends to award the bid in township regularly scheduled board meetings. That'd be July 16.
Yeah.
July 16, 2025. And we expect the work to be completed by when?
Before winter,
Huh?
before winter.
I'd say September.
No
30th
later
at the
than
latest.
September 30th.
By October, they're still doing it in October.
I know
but
they are.
It's cold.
It's cold, yeah. All right, that was a blank in there. And then bidder is expected to perform all work between, and do we want to give them a time period of between such and such, or just do you want me to get rid of the number 9 in its entirety? Because we do state here that it's works to be completed by no later than September 30th. Bidder is expected to perform all work between. Huh?
You could, if instead of that, you could say that the work should be scheduled or coordinated through our administrative office, i.e. supervisor.
I understand why the purpose is there. It's like,
Yep.
so they're not gonna take 4 weeks to do it. They're
Well,
gonna-
if it happens to be a wedding or something on a Saturday and it's booked, it wouldn't be a good time to have them try to.
Right.
Right, I'll replace scheduled through the supervisor's office on that. I will get that done so that it's there. Also, y'all saw there's a bid response sheet as well that will go out when they do. They can get them either here at the office or from the clerk as well. And then let's see, these bids are going to be received by 4 p.m. July 9/20/25. I've got bid documents, maybe the time calling Gerrish Township Clerk between the hours of 8 and 4 Monday to Friday. Any questions, bid clarifications, or appointments to view regarding the proposed work should be directed to me. You all comfortable with that?
You have that a specific pricing page?
With that?
You have a specific pricing page? Or
Nope, no, we're gonna take whatever it is that they give us. I've seen the ones in the past, they've usually kind of delegated it out and broke it out. And I've, with, what the crack seal was and that kind of thing, but nah,
Is this something that'll go on the website too, or
it
I
can.
don't know, I'm just.
I mean, I don't know that it's necessary. You're putting it in paper. And I would assume those businesses probably check those papers and things like that. So. Okay, we ready to move number 3? So number 3 is a continuation, the 5-year Parks and Recs plan. You all know we were here. And at that meeting, there was expressed some concerns at the public hearing about the regional pieces of those needing to be a little more local in the home rather than just grailing. You all got an email of Susan Semac's work to blend those into that that 5-year plan and document. And we decided that we would move it over till today for the needed or required, shall I say, resolution to, I guess, finalize that. And we did receive one piece of communication after the fact as well, and I think Mr. Anderson addressed it. So
Yeah.
you want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay, we did have a request for some consideration to an area known as Sheridan Trail be included in the Parks and Recs plan. And so this individual felt like that should be included as well in that regional listing. It's Sheridan Trail. She maintains Sheridan Trail is privately maintained, open to the public for non-motorized travel per the enclosed legal agreement with Gerrish Township. 6 privately owned local facilities are currently included in the plan. Perhaps Sheridan could be listed in that section of the plan. Jim, your statement, your thought was, and I think I see it the same way, but the request is for an easement that was done as part of a legal process. The examples she is using are private, yes, but commercially run, meaning the ones that are already listed. And he had very little, this has very little impact on a recreation plan. There's no township involvement or improvements planned for that property. So this isn't meant to start a discussion, obviously, over email, which I respect. Thank you, Jim, because we don't do that. I'm only pointing out the information is requested is a little inconsistent. Do you want to expound on that, Jim, or are you good with that?
No, other than just the fact that if anything, that would, if you were going to argue that, it would actually be in the plan as an asset of the township, because it's in the township. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be a regional item. It actually, but the
Yep.
township has no plans or probably any basis or ability to make improvements to that
Correct.
property. And so it's just not, it's there, but it's not, doesn't rise to the worthiness of put it into this plan. And so I'd just say, leave it as it is. I think Susan did her due diligence. The items that Tom Barber brought up at the meeting were relevant. Those are substantial regional type items that should be included, but you're always going to miss something in there. There's a lot of little trails out there that aren't probably listed as well.
Well, there's public roadways too.
Yes.
That actually go into the Higgins Lake as well, but you don't list individually each and every one of those either. So, all right, I just wanted to make sure that everybody saw that. And does anybody have anything to the contrary about that, or think
No.
that we ought to do something with that? Okay, other than what Susan had presented to us. Okay, that being the case, then today is June 17th, and so I'm going to read a resolution. It's Resolution 2025-06-17-08, Gerrish Township Recreation Plan Resolution of Adoption, Gerrish Township Board of Trustees, June 17th, 2025. Whereas Gerrish Township has undertaken a 5-year recreation plan update, which describes the physical features, existing recreation facilities, and the desired actions to be taken to improve and maintain recreational facilities during the period of 2026 through 2030. And whereas an online recreation survey was published on July 15, 2024, remained open for public input until September 2nd, 2024, providing residents with ample opportunity to comment on and guide recreation in the township. And whereas a public notice was published in the Holton Lake Resort on April 17th, 2025, which began a 30-day public review period for the draft plan. And whereas Gerrish Township has developed a plan for the benefit of the entire township to assist in meeting the recreation needs of the entire township. And whereas a public hearing was held on June 10th, 2025 at the Gerrish Township Hall to provide residents the opportunity to ask questions and express opinions on a recreation plan. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Gerrish Township Board of Trustees hereby adopts the recreation plan as a guideline for improving recreations for the residents of Gerrish Township. And we'll have we'll call for the question and have a roll call vote.
I'll make the motion to
Thank you.
go forward if that's what you're asking.
I am. I'm asking for a motion to move forward and support.
I'll support.
Support by trustee Hoppy. Any further discussions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Supervisor Hill,
Yes.
trustee Ostling,
Yes.
treasurer Anderson,
Yes.
clerk Squires.
Yes.
Trustee Appy.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, board. And thank you, Susan CMAC, for the immense amount of work that she's put into the project and continues to do for our parks and recs. Appreciate that. Appreciate the process getting here as well. Thank the board for their candidness and comment. Appreciate that. We're now at the point for announcements. Any other announcements out in the audience? I don't see anybody on Zoom. Mary Jo, Michelle? Tim?
STR ordinance, please send me any of your thoughts, comments on that. I have started drafting proposed changes to that last draft. And our July 10th meeting will be, we'll be discussing that in probably some length. So
I sent you mine. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think Herb Weatherly is sending everybody to my office for a short-term rental.
Oh, really?
well, I'm just,
Another-
all I'm just saying is take the time to read it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Understand it.
Yeah.
Where I'm trying to tackle this from putting together what we might want to consider for changes. And I am starting to do some due diligence on regards to what it's going to take to administer it. We did meet with Kirsty Russo from Markey to talk about the pros and cons. She gave us some very good information about what she wished was in that thing that we used. And so I'm going to try to address that based on what she told us. So if you got anything else,
We had those comments. Did she get from us? Did you send those to us?
I'm going to compile everything and then send it out. But right now, I just need you to,
Concerns.
whatever your thoughts are, on what you got in your hand right now.
So we had talked about, before you and I, when I, had mentioned about, a certain person, not any certain person, but a, entrepreneur that, buys, 4 little cottages and never sleeps in them ever, or even, by limiting who all can do Airbnbs.
How do you
This
do that?
conversation?
How do you do?
I
that?
know, because they own it. But it seems like if you don't, but there could be a way if you like never spend a night there, or, well, of course, then they just cheat and do it. I don't know. I don't know how you.
Control by the
police
default.
there.
What do
We
you-
need a number, concrete number.
Limiting numbers by individual
No,
or
it's a total,
Private. what are you
total
talking-
number.
total number of,
Yeah.
yeah.
A person can
but-
own for Airbnbs? What are you talking about? What number?
No, I
Number for
think
what?
we need to have a hard number.
Well,
that we wanna get
that
to.
is in the plan right now. We just haven't set it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, that is written in there.
and I think the only way to get there is to go backwards.
To somehow limit people that don't live there, that can't have an Airbnb. Is that kind of where you were headed?
Yeah, the people that I know of, people that have bought, especially after COVID, bought, 4 or 5 little dumps, put some lipstick on it, and they don't ever stay there. They have their own house.
That's almost the definition of what this ordinance is. That's what those places are.
Yeah.
People don't live there. They
Yeah,
live
they
in
run
the
them out.
hospital. That's why we need to,
Hmm.
if we're gonna do it, then it regulates it.
But
If you had to live there and that's the only place you could rent out, that would be a whole different, I think something totally different.
I have to wonder how much, I think it's a great solution with the private road fees. But I have to wonder how that's really gonna play out. Cause you got people, neighbors ain't gonna want them.
Well, these are things we need to
Those are the
discuss on
things.
July 10th.
Then
And
what
if you've got something that those concerns, put them in writing so we could compile them so that when we,
Got a list going.
I'm going to try to do Brian's job, and I'm going to lead a little bit on that, but I've got the document. When I have my stuff compiled before the meeting, I'll send it out to you. So you'll have it before we get to the meeting. Yeah.
You say my job?
Yes,
It's
he
not my
did.
job.
Well, you lead us.
And
You're our
Right.
leader.
I'm happy that you
You're number one.
volunteered to take the point on this issue and coagulate all the responses because this needs to be discussed openly and publicly.
Yeah.
And we are all right now, I'm sure, getting a sporadic email here or there. It's over whether we should, starting from questions of why do we need to do this and we shouldn't do this versus, oh my goodness, we need to do this. So
Right.
we need to just make sure that every board member is going over that packet very well and is very versed in the initial, I call it the first out of the gate draft of an ordinance, and get Jim your concerns that we need to discuss as a group so that we can get that all out on the front and that we decide those questions and not I guess, shall we say, belabor this thing for another 8 months.
Yeah, no
Kind of
kidding.
thing.
No,
So-
I was speaking to a resident yesterday who claims that they were able to count over 600.
There's not.
Yeah, and I'm like, were you looking at the whole lake? You know, and I'm like, 600. That's all.
Yeah, no
That's a
kidding.
lot. No, seriously, they were being serious that that's what they
Well,
claimed they were able to find.
We'll have those varying discussions about, how many are there and those kinds of things. And then as well as, questions of, I forwarded this morning or yesterday a request of how many anti-noise ordinance, how many public peace pieces, how many whatever of individual short-term rentals. And I forwarded that to the chief for FOIA because if there are any records of that specifically, they might have them. Although I believe it'd be very, very difficult to try and ferret them out. There is no short-term rental box on a police report or anything. So
Yeah, there would be, right?
yeah, and it's a pretty copious, probably going to have to be nailed down a bit more before you could even respond with a proper freedom of information request. But okay, good. Good. So everybody's going to be getting those, and we just need to make sure that all of us become aware to Jim so that we've got them all kind of together. Because I don't like when people email and you got something and you forget to bring it and that kind of, just make sure we have them all there. So any other announcements?
That July 10th meeting is likely to be pretty busy because we get the cemetery
The work session.
for the work session.
Yeah.
The work session.
Yeah, and we've had some discussion around here, one-on-one. And I believe what we're going to need to do for the future here, we're having 3-hour work session meetings. So I'm going to be asking the chiefs, and they submit written reports to us anyways, to only address what they need from us, meaning motions or that type of thing. Not that their business is not important, it is, but as you know, they're very busy places. And, they're available to any of the board members at any time throughout the month to ask individual questions or otherwise. And I think it probably best if you do that. So we can maybe get, we've got the cemetery, we've got short-term rental. We've got other issues as well that we just need to spend some time on them too. And we didn't get to the cemetery the last time, 3 hours in. So that's an itch that needs to be scratched. And so we're going to have to start doing it. So I'm hoping to maybe chop those down just a little bit for the July 10th meeting.
We all know how to read. And
Yes.
it's written reports, public. I've already read it by time.
Yeah,
Yep.
You guys, you don't need to read it.
Yeah.
to me, So that's
Yeah.
all.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I assure you, they're going to be very happy about that. So,
Yeah.
so,
sure.
No, that's
You
exactly
don't
right.
want to be heard.
Sure. So anyways, that's kind of my thoughts for the next one. We'll proceed in that format and see how well that works out. All right, very good. Any other announcements, anybody? Hearing none, I take a motion to adjourn the meeting at 2:54. Moved by trustee Osling.
Really, right?
Support?
Holy
Support.
cow.
Support Treasurer Anderson. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Thank you very much, all. Not that I don't love you all.
Right.